right, you may fire when ready.
So we definitely have these a wide variety of conversations with people. This has been one of the more common ones recently that we've heard variations of, but it's basically something along the lines of after the pandemic, our business became more focused on improving efficiencies. We need to tighten our belts to recover. Where's the low hanging fruit so that I could decrease my spend without kind of lampooning my marketing plan and rollout. So, Eric, do you have any ideas, or should I just start rolling?
I definitely have a thought on this, and I would suggest that that the first thing you do. So typically, when people say, "Okay, I need to tighten my belt, I need to change my spending," what they're looking at is basically a line item budget, and they're looking at saying, "Oh well, we were going to spend." We were going to spend 15,000 on a new website. Can we spend 10 instead? Or we were going to spend X dollars on Google AdWords. Do we need to spend that? We have this person on staff, or we have this freelance relationship. Do we need those people? Can we just slice them out? And while that is thinking that can definitely lead you down the path of cutting that budget and feeling successful about that, the thing that we would always kind of default to, and something that Greg and I talk about just constantly, is the idea that hey, your marketing budget isn't there to fund people and stuff per se. It's to fund marketing goals. And so how are we funding those goals? Are we funding them appropriately? Are we going to get there? And truthfully, when you do it that way, it's about saying, this is my goal. How much money do I need to achieve that goal? And then how am I going to spend that money? And so if you want to tighten your belt, the first thing that you can do is talk about, hey, well, what are our goals? If what we want to do is hit the same goals as we did last year, or increase those goals but spend less money, that's probably not a realistic expectation that you should be setting for yourself. And so the first thing that I would do, absolutely, is looking at where you're setting your goalposts and figuring out if they're in the right place. And if they're not, that's cool. Bring them in a little bit and decide that hey, this is going to make us successful this year. And I only need to spend 80% of what I spent last year in order to achieve that goal. If that gets you the same end result that you're looking for, cutting the budget, tightening the belt, without creating any sort of magical thinking or false expectations, or putting people in a position where you're asking for a result that's just completely unachievable.
Yeah, I think that for us, it comes back to that classic cost of acquisition and lifetime value equation. Some of your biggest efficiencies in marketing could be driven in the side of lifetime value. So when you're getting upsells from existing customers, or you're extending the average duration that a customer is with you, any of those types of activities that lengthen that amount of time or increase the amount of margin you're able to drive from your relationships is going to be very efficient marketing. Among the most inefficient marketing is the stuff that goes on the so-called like branding side of things, when you're trying to increase awareness, because essentially covering the knowledge gap, the awareness gap, getting people that have no familiarity with who you are and what your business does to getting to the point where they are and have good feelings about it. It requires a lot of marketing work, and as a result, it's sometimes a trickle, it's sometimes a pour, but it's like it's something you can't really do without. But if you're looking to tighten your belt, then what you'd be thinking about is that area of awareness building normally, because of just how inefficient it is. Now, that being said, you have to be aware of what those risks are that are going to occur both in the long and short term. And so that's what Erik is addressing quickly. Is he's saying, okay, look at your goals then and figure out what you need to adjust, because it's going to have an effect. We don't know exactly what that effect is at that point, but we can tell you, generally speaking, you're going to have less people going into that front side of your funnel, fewer MQLs, the marketing qualified leads, fewer SQLs, and it won't happen immediately, but it'll start to happen gradually and then probably fall off a cliff at some point. And so you'll want to readjust before you hit that point of diminishing returns. It should be a temporary measure. And part of the reason we really emphasize the temporary element of some of those cuts is that what will occur to your runway over time is that a lot of businesses have gotten a lot smarter about these processes. And we saw this, we are children of the 2008 financial crisis, the mortgage crisis, and it affected everybody. But it actually had a positive effect over the long term of the businesses that continued to invest in marketing and growth during that time. We saw an enormous resurgence of business growth in the 2011 and post 2011 era up until the recent epidemic for the businesses that had doubled down. And partly it's because as other businesses were making those sorts of cuts and trying to drive new efficiencies, they weren't bringing back their spend quick enough. They weren't reinvesting as they recovered. And what happened was the businesses that were losing less during that time of loss, of recession, were actually gaining market share invisibly. So that even though they were losing, they happened to be not doing quite as bad as a lot of those competitions, the incumbents that maybe pulled way back to cover their cash flow basis. And then they didn't reinvest quick enough as that cash flow recovered. And
I would liken it to, I mean, the market and your and your yield on investment is going to be is going to be sometimes a reflection of the marketplace that you're in. And so, like, we're seeing one version of it right now with the housing market, where, and especially where Greg and I live in the Denver metro area, there's a huge housing shortage. A lot more people want to move here than there are houses to put them in. And so we see real estate prices climbing. It's a huge, it is a huge seller's market. And the people who are buying right now are buying at record high prices. Now, on the converse effect, sometimes, that market's going to cool down. And you're going to be able to get into a really great house really, really affordably. And then, of course, you profit on the back end when that house increases in value. And so that's kind of the situation that we find ourselves in now, where when people are pulling their money out of the marketplace, so to speak, they're actually kind of driving down prices for everybody. And so what happens is that if you buy low at these prices, you reap the benefits when the market goes up, because you've already established yourself in that space. And it's a lot more cost effective to maintain your position at the level that you're at, rather than try to reclaim it when the market has gone up. And so there's an effect like that that's no different than any other marketplace.
It's a classic buy low, sell high scenario.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing is, like, I would say, as a short-term measure, look at the CPC and banners and things like that, because part of what makes that such an easy look is that you can take money out for a period of time, and then it makes it also very easy to put it back in. Like, you could restart that engine really quickly. And so part of that, like, you'll see some things dry up, and that's an effect you're going to get, but it's a risk you're willing to take to keep that cash flow where your business needs it to get by. And then just know, though, that it also requires reinvesting at that right time, because you can miss the boat.
So to summarize, our recommended course of action on this. Number one, make sure that your spend and your goals are matched up. If you're going to pull money out of the budget, make sure that you're adjusting your goals accordingly. Number two, understand that when you're pulling money out of your marketing, you should be looking at that as a temporary change and something that you're looking to bring back up to levels as conditions improve. And then number three, before you do that, just consider that if you're looking to pull money out of your marketing, and if your competitors are looking to pull money out of their marketing, rather than seeing everybody just pull money out of their marketing, it could be an opportunity for you to sort of buy low and leapfrog some folks that are in your ballpark.
Yeah.
Greg, did I miss anything?
No, I would say the only other thing is just like don't keep budgets so low that you're waiting to see those like bad effects. That's like if you're able to start reinvesting before you get any of those risks realized, then grade A. Like that's a great thing. But I think some people, they're like, I could spend this much less and I'm still driving the same thing. It'll catch up eventually, I promise. And then you're behind the eight ball because there's nobody that could kind of restart things and get you those results back right away. It's gonna have a lag time.
Right.
So you want to be getting the work back in place before you're hitting a steep decline so that you can build back up.
It's sort of that same effect of if you were in good shape and then for whatever reason you stopped exercising and now you've been sitting on the couch for 6 months. It's going to take a little bit to get back into it. You're not going to be able to jump right in and do that triathlon. You're going to need to train for that, and you're going to need to work yourself back into it. Same thing with your marketing processes. Same thing with how you approach the marketplace. It's going to be a process, and just be prepared for that.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Check the email and send in questions. We are happy to answer.
Later.